All right, good to go.
All right.
Thank you, Matt. I've got one more minute to go, so I'm gonna give it a minute or minute and a half. Folks, anybody tuned in, we're allowing some folks to sign in from Facebook, and we'll be with you momentarily. So please hang on. A great program tonight.
Mayor, it looks like we have a few viewers on Facebook and a couple of attendees logged in. If you want to go and get started.
Okay, I will certainly do that. Well, welcome everybody. This is Mayor Woody Washam here, and this is our virtual Connecting Cornelius, the evening edition on October 21st, 2021. So it's a big night. It's been a beautiful day here, almost perfect temperature. And I know that some of our commissioners will be joining us from the polls, as the polls don't close at Town Hall until 7 o'clock tonight. So they'll be joining us remotely from the polls. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for doing that. It may be a little more difficult for you to see what's going on, but we appreciate you joining us. So thanks a lot. We are moving into our voting period of time here in Cornelius. I do want to remind everybody of that. Polls open at 10 o'clock most mornings except for Saturday, and I think they open at 8 on Saturday, and probably Sunday as well. But they'll be opening at 10 o'clock certainly tomorrow on Friday, and be closing at 7. I believe those are the hours as of tomorrow, and commissioners correct me if that's not the case, but I believe it is. So we were chatting before we went live on Facebook, and talking to Dr. Raynard Washington, who is with the Mecklenburg County Public Health. He's the deputy director at this time. But we welcome you, Dr. Washington, and always it's a pleasure to have you on these evening editions. You've been faithful to us. We love having you, but that's the sign, I guess you'd say, that there's news to share related to COVID. So, maybe there'll be a day that we can spread these meetings out a little bit, particularly with your presence here. So. But thank you for being with us, and we'd love to hear a COVID update at this time. And if you could focus a little bit on Cornelius, if you have any news about what's going on in our town, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and always great to be with you all. And I hope that I can keep coming, even if I don't have a COVID update, and maybe I can talk about something else.
Yes, sir. We'd love that. For sure.
But certainly we are seeing some pretty encouraging signs in terms of COVID trends across the county. All of the numbers that we track so closely are on the decline. That includes the number of cases we're seeing every day across the county. That includes the number of folks who are testing positive, the number of people in the hospital every day, as well as the number of outbreaks and clusters we have at long-term care facilities, congregate living settings, and even in the school setting. So we're really encouraged. The last I checked, the county at a countywide level, we were just below the 7% positivity rate level. Our case counts are still a little bit elevated, so we're still seeing about 200 cases a day. Once that number gets below 200 cases a day, we'll start to see a change in how we're classified relative to our community transmission. And so we're still in the red, but today was the first day I think we've had fewer than 200 cases. And so we're hopeful that this pattern will keep up over the course of the next week, because that will get us sort of out of the red zone in terms of community transmission. Of course, we have variation throughout the county. Up in Cornelius, the percent positivity is actually a little bit better than it is across the whole county. It's at around 5.2% for the last 2-week period. And so making great progress there. The case counts are still pretty elevated in Cornelius though, but we have seen a 54% decline over the prior 2-week period from the last time we looked at data for the Cornelius, which was as of the 13th of October. So making good progress across the county. Vaccination rates continue to tick up very slowly. About 65% of the residents in Cornelius are fully vaccinated. If you look at the whole county, that number is actually a little bit lower than the percent of folks who are fully vaccinated is closer to 57%. So kudos to the community members up in Cornelius are a little bit ahead of the rest of the county. We have had a number of deaths over the last several months, a lot of deaths among younger people, but we certainly are starting to see those numbers slow down quite a bit from where they were. So that's all encouraging news. Lots of activity on the vaccination front. Again, I continue to encourage everyone to get vaccinated if you're eligible and able to be vaccinated. The data are overwhelming that the vaccines work consistently throughout this entire Delta surge, which has been happening for the last few months. We have seen the majority of the patients who are sickest and those who are dying, particularly the young people, the most common denominator with those folks is that they have yet to be vaccinated. And so I think the evidence is just really, real world evidence is really clear of the impact and the, I can't say enough how important vaccines are to us moving beyond sort of the level of impact that COVID has on our community. COVID's not going anywhere anytime soon. So of course, we're at a period of having to learn to live with it. And so I think, of course, vaccination is certainly one of those ways we can live with it a little more peacefully. Some news on the horizon. Just this afternoon today, the CDC approved booster shots for individuals who received the Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The CDC secretary has to sign off on that. And once she signs off on it, it'll sort of become rule of the land. And then we'll be able to offer boosters to anyone in the community that needs a booster. Right now, they're recommended for people who are over the age of 65 for sure. But also for individuals who are 18 to 64 who either have underlying health conditions, whether they be mild health conditions like being overweight, or if they have more severe health conditions like a chronic condition, then we're recommending if you're 18 to 64, you also get a booster at the 6-month mark. So 6 months after your final dose from your first round of vaccinations. And then for individuals who are immunocompromised, also recommending anyone that's immunocompromised that has moderate to severe levels of compromise to the immune system should also get a 3rd dose of the vaccine as well to make sure that they sort of boost their immune response. Other than that, we're awaiting the approval for children 5 to 11. We expect the Pfizer vaccine to be approved later this month. The FDA is meeting on the 26th, so next week. They will make their recommendations, and then the CDC is scheduled to make its recommendation on vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds the week after. So we could be administering doses to 5 to 11-year-olds as soon as the first week of November. And so we are preparing to receive shipment. It is a slightly different formula. So it's a separate vial that it has to be drawn from, but we are preparing to receive shipments so that we can administer here in the county at pediatric practices, at pharmacies, at the health department locations as early as November 3rd or 4th. So I'll stop there. And again, we know the holidays are coming up. So I just encourage everybody to continue to do what they can to help protect themselves and their families. As COVID is still here. But again, as I said earlier, it's not going anywhere. So we certainly have to learn to live with it. But as a Halloween holiday comes up, just encourage folks to be safe. If you go out trick-or-treating, which we certainly encourage families to do, any outdoor activities are obviously going to be safer, and really want to avoid any overly crowded indoor settings where folks aren't able to wear masks or social distance.
Thank you, sir. And how about making some comments about the mask mandate? Because is there a particular point that will justify a change in that or not?
Yeah, so we're currently the initial rule that was the current rule that's in effect says that our percent positivity has to be persistently below 5% for 30 days for the public health rule to expire, or if the governor lifts the state of emergency, that would also trigger the reversal of the mask mandate. I don't imagine the governor is going to lift the state of emergency right now. In fact, I think it was more recently extended. So most likely it'll be us hitting a level of community transmission where we feel that the mask mandate is no longer required. Masks will still be recommended, but won't be required. So right now, that is, once we get 30 days at 5%, I imagine we'll be hit the 5% mark sometime in the next week or two. And then we'll need to sort of go for 30 days thereafter. We are assessing that metric now to make sure that still is best practice and aligns with the latest recommendations from the state and CDC. And so there may be an update or a change to that if we decide that there's a need to either shorten the time period or make some adjustments. And if that were to happen, it would be up for discussion at the next Board of County Commissioners meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Other comments or questions for Dr. Washington? Dr. Miltic, do you have any observations or anything you'd like to share?
Well, it's weird doing this on my phone, and I don't know how well I'm coming through because I think there's a time lag. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, good. Any comments regarding natural immunity post infection recovery?
Yeah. So, well, my hope is that that we are well, certainly we know individuals who have been infected do develop antibodies to the virus that offer some level of protection for some period of time, or natural immunity. That the level or the time frame that immunity is strong varies for every individual person. So there are studies in individuals who have been infected to really sort of see how long and how strong their immune response is post-infection without vaccination. The majority of those studies suggest that the period of active natural immunity ranges anywhere from a few months to as long as 10 or 11 or 12 months. But it varies greatly by person, and there's no common denominator for folks who have longer immunity versus those who have shorter term immunity. And so we count secondary, and we see cases where people are able to be infected again as early as 3 months after they've been infected the first time, which suggests that natural immunity has waned to a level that does not stop them from getting reinfected. So the short answer is certainly we know that if you get infected with anything, your body develops antibodies against it to be able to fight future infections. How long that lasts is certainly not is not something that you'll know just by being a person or being infected. It can vary pretty widely, and that immune response is not as strong as the response that is created from vaccination, which is also has the ability to fight multiple variants in a different kind of way, or a stronger way than just natural immunity to one variant. So I think we obviously know how many people have been infected in the county, but it's hard to equate that to sort of how many people may have natural immunity at any given time.
Yeah, our Commissioner Sisson is post-COVID, and she gives blood. She donates plasma, and her antibodies, last I checked, are still up for over a year.
And there are a number of studies that are going on. And again, they show just wide variation just depending on the person. And so
there's nothing more individualistic than the individual.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the care for that person. Every care has to be very individualized.
Sorry.
Well, thank you, Dr. Washington. And anybody else have anything to add or questions to ask? Well, hearing none, one of the important topics going on in our community right now, if you hadn't heard this, I'll tell you, is transportation and road projects. And I couldn't be more pleased about some of the information. The only better information I could have is that these road projects are really, really done. And I think Tyler Beardsley is getting pretty close on at least one or two of them. But Anyway, as far as the state projects are concerned, I've asked him to give us an update tonight because I think it's important for our citizens to hear the status of our transportation projects because they're coming, they're funded, they will be happening. And I want to reiterate that to our citizens to make sure they understand that. So with that, Tyler, if you'll take off and give us an update on our transportation projects that are going on across the board here in our towns. Quite a few of them, aren't there?
Yes, sir, there are. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to share my screen with you. So you should be seeing a PowerPoint presentation. If I can get it to, let's see, I can't figure this out, but we'll go with this screen. So when I started in Cornelius 11 years ago, West Catawba Phase 1 had just finished up. And since then, we've had the Diverging Diamond project in 2014. Other than that, there hasn't been any DOT projects in my 11 years with the town. That's about to change. We have 7 funded DOT projects that are going to start within the next 3 years, start construction within the next 3 years. It's pretty much unheard of. Maybe Charlotte has that many projects, but hardly anybody in the state has anywhere near that many projects. So it's pretty exciting. There's definitely a need, but it's exciting and change is coming. So the first one is the Torrance Chapel West Catawba intersection. So this is actually triple roundabout. So the first roundabout is at the post office. The second roundabout is at the Lake Norman Dodge dealership. And third roundabout is at Knox Road. And there'll also be a rebuild of Knox Road and the 1 Norman intersection at West Catawba. And eventually this plan will eliminate left turns at Torrance Chapel Road. So a driver coming from Shops on the Green would have to go straight through and then go to the roundabout to take a right to get on the interstate instead of taking a left as you would today. This project has currently in right-of-way acquisition, and the construction date is 2023. Those dates you'll see a lot coming up. That's a pretty consistent date for a lot of these projects. So the second project is the Highway 21 Catawba intersection, which is right across the Diverging Diamond. So this is a double roundabout, and similar to the Torrance Chapel intersection, left turns will eventually be eliminated. So to make a left turn, you'd have to go through the intersection, go through the roundabout, and take a right. It's a much more efficient movement. The signals are more efficient and also a safer movement. So this one is also the same with right-of-way underway right now. Utilities will start as soon as they can, and then construction also in 2023. Next project is NC 115 and Potts Street. This is right before you get to Davidson at the YMCA. Another roundabout to make a more efficient congested area. Sorry if you can hear my son in the back. He's being loud, but sorry about that if you can hear him. This is a roundabout, improved safety. Left turns out of Potts Street and Davis Street can be very difficult. So this is currently in right of way right now. And again, construction in 2023. Next is North Cross Drive Extension. This is a great northwest or north-south connector from Huntersville up to Westmoreland Road. It's an alternative to West Catawba and to I-77. So it'll extend from the current North Cross Drive by Whole Foods down in Huntersville and connect to Eagle Ridge Way right by Westmoreland Athletic Complex. This one's kind of nice because it doesn't have a lot of impacts to our current road network. Most of the construction is of new road, so it won't have as much of a traffic impact as a lot of these other construction projects. There will be some impacts over at Westmoreland and Eagle Ridge Way where we're putting in a roundabout. But right away is underway with this project, and construction again is starting 2023. This one, the date is a little longer because of a bridge that has to cross the McDowell Creek. So just the construction timeframe, that'll take a little longer than some of these other projects.
And I'll add one thing, Tyler, not to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
how this ties in with our new Robbins Park master plan is absolutely beautiful. I've spent some time out there just as recent as today to take a look at that, and it's exciting. We're not going to get into that master plan, but I think all that's on the town's webpage. So I'd encourage everybody to look out there and see what's coming as it relates to the Robbins Park master plan. Excuse me, I just want to throw that in.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next project is Bailey Road Extension. This is from the sharp curve at Bailey Road. We'll essentially extend that straight over to Highway 21. This will open up some economic development opportunities for some of the vacant property that you see here. There's a safety issue with this curve. There's several accidents a year there, and then also take a lot of traffic out of the Oakhurst neighborhood. So right now this is being designed right away next year, and then construction in 2023. Our big project is West Catawba Phase 2. So this is currently right away is underway, is continuing. Utilities will start as soon as they can. This is widening from Sanford all the way to Jatan. It's a major project. It's over $50 million. So we're ready to get this one moving. The construction date, good news on this one, has actually moved up a year. So it was 2025. It's now 2024. So our staff, elected officials have been working with DOT, state legislators to try to get this pushed up. And we've got it pushed up a year. So we'll continue to push. Funding is there as well. So if right away and utilities go as well as they can, then construction could start sooner. So we're continuing to push on this one. We know this is a major project and probably the biggest impact of all these projects. So this one is crucial to us. So we're pushing for this one to start as soon as possible. Next is the Hickory Street 115 intersection. This is right by Fire Station 1 and Mama's Pizza. We're putting in a traffic signal there. This is currently being designed. Right away will be next year, and then construction in 2023. Highway 21 widening. This is a part of a major 21 widening, but our portion is from Home Depot, just north of Sanford, to Westmoreland Road. This one currently is on pace to be constructed in 2023. However, with the atrium development, we're hopeful that that'll push this construction sooner. So that development should bring some enthusiasm to the area and hopefully get this thing constructed sooner. Next one is Highway 73. The town has a small portion of this, but we know it's a major artery for all of North Mecklenburg. So the construction dates of this is 2027 through 2029. The I-77 shoulder hardening project, the construction date for that is 2023 through 2025. Our local projects, Bailey Road intersection improvements, the mast arms for the signals are going up next week. As soon as they're done, those should be operational by Thursday of next week. As soon as they're done, the road contractor will be able to finish out paving and a little bit of curb and gutter. So this should be done by the end of November, if not before Thanksgiving. And then our last project is Jim Street Extension. We actually released bids this week. Bids are going to be open November 18th, and construction should start the beginning of 2022 with a completion date by the end of 2022. So any questions on any of those projects?
Any questions, anybody? Commissioners, any of you have anything to add to that particular update that you just heard?
You know, that's incredible how many projects are coming to Cornelius, and they are needed. And it's basically we're playing catch up. Because of the new funding formula, the STI, which is more data driven than the equitable formula was, our needs are filtered through that process, have been identified, and that's why we can be thankful that so many projects are coming at the same time. The good news is they're coming. The bad news is we're going to have to get through the construction at the same time.
Yeah, that's going to be, we've been talking about that construction for quite a while, and it's
Yeah.
Right
And the
on.
town will the town will have to be on top of it to make sure we mitigate the impact as much as we can for our businesses and residents.
We certainly do, and certainly will have to do that. And I'm hoping for a lot of nighttime construction, particularly as it relates to West Catawba. But yet it's such a good sign that they're out there buying right away. I mean, that's the beginning of any major project like West Catawba and all the rest. So, that's an awfully good sign. And then we'll move directly into utility relocation, directly into construction. So the process is building on itself, and good news for our citizens, I think, on all of these particular topics. Anything else? Tyler, you did a good job, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Go take care of that baby. That sounds important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about, we did a survey in our town early in the year, in and around our budget time. It goes from late last year into early 2021. And we found out several things from our citizens. We had great participation in the survey, number one. But number two, it validated pretty much everything we thought, but it really gave some order to the priorities that our citizens have. And the top two, as you could imagine, and you've heard me say this many times, are transportation and public safety. They're right at the top of our citizens' list of things that they ask our Board of Commissioners to work on. And they have gone to work on these particular matters. You just heard a transportation update, which is pretty good news. The other thing that's pretty good news is our public safety as it relates to our police department and our fire department. So there's a lot of really good things going on as we progress into the next budget year and work on those two items and hopefully continuing to support our police and support our firemen in the best way that is possible in order to meet their needs to be the best of the best. So anyway, I want to turn now. I'm going to start with our fire department. Chief Gary Barbie has been chief for several years now, 2 or 3, right, Gary? And so we appreciate your service and your contribution. He is a very, very seasoned fireman, and spent some of his time in Charlotte. Fortunately, they've trained him well, and he is making a major contribution to his hometown as well. So, Chief Barbie, I'm going to ask you to take the mic for a minute and tell us what's going on at the Cornelius Limley Fire Department.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give everybody a quick brief overview of the fire department. Not a lot of people are aware, but we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization that actually contracts with the town of Cornelius to provide fire and rescue services. We are not a municipal department, but we are starting to work with the town and have developed some plans to eventually end up being a municipal department through the town of Cornelius. With us being a nonprofit, I would like to let all of our people in the audience that's listening, we are going to be sending out our annual fundraising letters very soon, sometime within the next couple of months. We depend on those donations as part of our budget every year. So be on the lookout for those. They'll be coming to your house and to your PO boxes. So just to touch a little bit on our staffing, it's one of our major issues at the fire department. Currently, the majority of our staffing is made up of part-time firefighters. We still do utilize the old, what people consider a volunteer fire department. We still use some of that. We do have 40 to 45 members that live in the town of Cornelius. If there is a major emergency or a period of multiple calls at one time, or a thunderstorm comes in, some kind of inclement weather, we still do depend on our firefighters that are available at their homes to leave their home, come to the fire station to help out with staffing. We were blessed very recently in April of last year. We hired our first 6 full-time firefighters. These full-time firefighters work for the town of Cornelius. We hope that they'll stay here for 30 years and retire from the state retirement system. The town did a study in 2019. It was conducted by the Center for Public Safety Management by the ICMA, the International County Managers Association. They came in and did a comprehensive review of the fire service in town. And they basically looked at every different facet of the fire department, from staffing to emergency calls to response times and everything. Their number one recommendation was to transition from the part-time model that we have now into a full-time fire department. So the town was gracious enough in last year's budget, after me begging them for some additional funds, we hired our first 6 full-time firefighters. Since then, we have had 2 firefighters resign, unfortunately. However, we have just extended offers to 2 new firefighters that will be starting with us November the 8th. They'll go through a 2-week orientation period, and then they will start their shifts the first week or the week of Thanksgiving in November. So we're excited to have those 2 come on board with us. So our goal right now is 10 firefighters per day. Currently, unfortunately, we're only meeting that goal 25% of the time, losing two of our full-time firefighters, one in August and one in September, hampered us a little bit there. However, the good thing is we've had an extremely supportive town board, mayor, and town staff who have worked with us to produce what we call the full-time metrics document. We will be using that to justify the transition from the part-time model we have now to a full-time career department in the future. We're going to be looking at the National Fire Protection Association's NFPA standards, emergency call data, part-time staffing vacancies, full-time staffing vacancies, the number of on-call firefighters that we have available in town that actually do still participate and respond, and then our population data and growth, and how we're able to meet the needs of the town. So our goal is 15 firefighters per day with an administrative staff in place by 2034. That's a very slow process, but it's a very fiscally responsible process that's not going to hit the town with a large payroll burden right off the bat. So we're going to try to do that in a slow incremental process. So far in 2021, we've had 2,675 calls for service. We're on pace for roughly 3,300 by the end of the year. That's 60 EMS, 40 fire, 40% fire. Our response times are in the 5 minute and 25 second range. One big thing that we've been tracking lately is overlapping calls. So when we have one call, we're dispatched to another call within the town in the same time frame. Sometimes that's 2, sometimes it's 3. So far, that's happened 703 times this year for 26% of the time. So that's just a little bit about the fire department in a nutshell. I do want to take a quick minute to talk to everybody listening. October is Fire Prevention Month. We do a lot of fire prevention in the elementary schools and with younger children and Boy Scout groups, Girl Scout groups, that kind of thing. However, we never really get a chance to talk about fire safety with adults. So with that being said, I'd like to remind everybody to check your smoke and your CO detectors at home. Make sure they're in good working order. Make sure you do have a carbon monoxide detector, especially if you have gas ran to your home, natural gas. Make sure your batteries are good. Make sure you talk with your family. Have a escape plan in your home. So if your smoke detector does alert you in the middle of the night, you've got multiple ways to get out of your house. And once you do get out, I want to remind you to stay outside. Do not go back inside for animals or personal belongings. Once you get out, stay out. And you need to come up with what we call a meeting place. It needs to be something that's substantial in the yard that's not going to move. A mailbox, a tree, swing set, something like that. It's going to be in one spot where you and your family can meet. And when we arrive, you can tell us, hey, everyone's out of the house, or you're missing 1 or 2 people. And that puts us in a different rescue mode. So along those same lines, sleep with your door closed. That's a big thing. It's a big push lately in the fire services, trying to get people to sleep with your door closed. If there's a fire outside of your bedroom, it keeps the fire and the smoke from coming into your room. And there's been a lot of survivability lately since that big push nationally. So just, I know it's a little weird, but sleep with your door closed. the number one cause of fires in the United States of America is unattended cooking. So if you're cooking, make sure you stay with your food. Have a extinguisher close by. And so this is kind of two piece. Have one close by that's not buried in a closet or buried under a bunch of coats somewhere, and make sure you know how to use it. Okay. Make sure you know how to use that extinguisher. And if you don't know how to use one, stop by the fire station. We'd love to help you out. One last thing, want to remind everybody, when you are in a public place, whether you're at work or whether you're in a restaurant or a movie theater, schools, churches, know where your exits are, know where your closest exits are. Human nature will tell you when you come in a building, most of the time you go right back out the same way you came in. When a fire or any kind of emergency, that's not necessarily the best way to get out. You need to find your closest, nearest exit and get out that way. So a lot of people, I've got my family doing it now, my children do it, especially when we go into a restaurant, I'll just ask them, hey, where's the closest exit? They look around, they find it. Exits are lit. There's always a sign above the door that's lit that lets you know that that door will take you outside. So with that being said, that's just a little quick, little bit of information in a nutshell about the fire department, a little bit of October fire prevention, fire safety tips. And one last thing before I go, if any of our neighbors are boaters or you get on a rental boat or a rental jet ski, make sure that you have a properly fitting PFD. That's been a huge problem over the last couple of years on Lake Norman. Lake Norman is actually the second deadliest body of water in North Carolina behind the Intercoastal Waterway. So we're trying to put a big push out there as well for boater safety. So Mayor, that's all I got.
Thank you, Chief. That was a great update. Anything to add from our commissioners? Any questions in our chat box? I don't see any in our chat box at this time. So we'll roll right into our police update. And we have with us tonight Major David Balcom. David has been with our town for quite a while. He'll tell you how long in just a minute, but he's doing a great job as the number 2 guy at the Cornelius Police Department. Chief Black could not be with us tonight because of someone in his family had passed. And so he could not be with us, but Major Balcom jumped right in. And so we're in good hands tonight. So Major, if you will tell us a little bit about the police department, we appreciate it, sir.
Sure, I'll be glad to, Mayor. I am going to share a PowerPoint, so give me just a second to share my screen here. All right, and hopefully everyone can see that. So good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. The mayor introduced me, but my name is David Balcom. I'm the police major. I've been with the agency for about 22 and a half years. And as the mayor said, my position is second in command to the chief of police. So let's get started with our public safety update. So the first slide you see here is our police organization. That's just a basic organization chart. The department's broken down into 2 primary divisions. You have field operations and support services. The bulk of the officers that most citizens are familiar with work in field operations. That includes patrol, lake patrol, and traffic safety. Support services, they kind of do everything else. That's where our criminal investigations unit is, our narcotics, hiring, recruiting, SROs, community services, our 911 center, and also our animal control shelter. So these are just a few photos from our field operations division. The top left, you'll see one of our uniformed cars. Right below that is one of our boats that we have that we use to patrol on Lake Norman. We're very lucky to have 2 very nice vessels to use out there. The pictures on the right are pictures from our traffic safety unit. The one in the middle there is from a child safety seat checking station that we do at the fire department. And the one beside that was a pedestrian crosswalk enforcement activity that was done here on Catawba Avenue between Town Hall and the police department. So support services, you see our 911 center. Some people may not realize, but we do have a full service 911 center that's staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with at least 2 dispatchers. And they answer all the calls pretty much in our geographical area. And it doesn't matter if it's a police call, fire call, medic call, whatever it is. If you dial 911 in our area, it goes to our communication center and then gets transferred on to the appropriate agency, whether it's Charlotte or an adjoining county. To the right, you can see our recruitment and hiring. Below that is our criminal investigations unit, and that was actually a crime scene where that photo was taken. And then again, we have animal services, and pretty much everybody in the town that has an animal knows Kenny Russell. So he's been with us quite some time. So that's him out there with one of our dogs. So this slide is about crime. So one of the first questions the police department usually gets asked about is crime. What kind of crime do we have in Cornelius, and is it a safe community? Well, first off, Cornelius is a very safe community to live and work in. We generally look at crime three different ways. Violent crimes include homicide, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. Property crimes include larceny, vehicle break-ins, motor vehicle theft, and arson. And then we have quality of life incidents. They usually include vandalism, DWI, drug violations, fraud, shoplifting, and simple assault. So let's look at some of our crime stats for here in Cornelius. So this is from January to September, and we're comparing 2020 to 2021. So as you can see by the graph, the crime rate remains, or the crime reported remains fairly consistent from year to year. 2020 is represented by blue, and 2021 is the orange color. So violent crime, property crime, and quality of life incidents have all decreased compared to this time last year. The most reported violent crime is assault. There's aggravated assault. We're not immune to violent crime. Many of y'all remember just recently we had a homicide investigation on the interstate. So thankfully we were able to solve that quickly due to some information provided by a witness and some good police work. But violent crime does happen here. It's just not very, very often. One of our most frequent crimes is larceny from a motor vehicle, and that just simply means that a suspect entered an unlocked or unsecured vehicle and removed items from inside. And this happens a lot in our neighborhoods. You know, unfortunately, a group of individuals will come up here and just fan out across a neighborhood, and all they do is start checking door handles. And if they can find a door handle open and they can open a car and get anything, you'd be amazed at what people leave in their cars, from purses to laptops to guns, any number of things. That's just a quick, easy way for them. So we encourage everybody to secure their vehicles and remove all valuables. We have a program we promote called HABIT, which stands for Halt Auto Break-ins Today. So please just take a moment and make sure you're not an easy target for a criminal. Our most reported quality of life incident is drug violations. So this is a look at our crime stats by the month. So July had the most reported violent crimes, and this is for 2021. September had the most reported property crimes so far, and September also had the most quality of life incidents reported. And you can see by the graphs the number of incidents per month of each type of crime. So I talked a little bit about our 911 center. This is our calls for service. So from January to September 2021, we've received 13,752 911 calls just to our center alone. That averages about 1,528 calls a month. We also have several administrative lines, or non-emergency lines, as we sometimes call them. We've answered 4,463 calls to it. We have a lot of people that want to come to the police department and file the report, and we list that as what we call a walk-in. So they'll come into the PD, and an officer will meet with them, or go outside and take the report, or maybe sign a warning citation or something like that. So 270 walk-ins. And then the last number there is officer initiated, and that could be a whole gamut of calls, from traffic stops, traffic concerns, suspicious persons, vehicles, zone checks, pretty much anything that an officer might self-initiate. So we talk about recruitment. We do have one designated recruiter position for the department. We have 63 sworn positions and 18 civilian positions. And if you look at the back of the car in the photo there, you can see we advertise. You can text CPD hire to a number, and it's 474747. So we encourage anyone that is looking for a job to certainly reach out to us, either through that or through our website, and we'll send you an application and see what we can do. So we talk about CALIA. CALIA is an international accreditation that we have, that ensures our agency operates consistently with other agencies across the country and across the world. CALIA says that they provide guidelines for what we should do, but don't dictate how we do them. So the department's been accredited since 2004. This is a voluntary program. There's 459 standards. We have to comply with 364 of those based on our agency size. We go through an online review every year, and we go through an on-site review every 4 years. And our online review for 2021 is coming up next week. So that's a lot of work for our police analysts to keep up. But CALIA is very, very important to our agency. So some community events we've had in 2021. The top left picture you see there is Pack the Patrol Car. We accept school donations from neighborhoods, businesses, whoever wants to bring any kind of school supplies to us. And then we organize that, and then we give them out to all of our local schools. The top right is Cool Off with a Cop. That's a great event. We get to do it in the summertime at the splash pad at Smithville Park. And we just get to go out there and play and interact with the kids and get wet, and they love it. And the officers always have a great time too. If you see the picture of the officer in the Duncan booth, that's Captain Tony Sharp. That was at National Night Out earlier this month. National Night Out is a great event where we get to go out and interact with our community. And also our community gets to interact with us, and we just kind of form that relationship that we're always seeking. The bottom pictures there are from our charity softball game we had with the fire department last weekend. For anyone who doesn't know, they did beat us. While we did see a lot of firemen out there that we've never actually seen on calls, I will say that they did beat us. So I'm sure Gary will appreciate that. We also do Coffee with a Cop. We do Lake Safety Day, and we do Community Dockside Safety. So just like Chief Harvey was saying, lake safety, wearing PFDs, all that's important to us. And we try to promote as many programs as we can like that on the water as well, just to make sure that that everyone is safe. Our Citizens Academy, these photos are from our current academy. They were just taken the other night. The students were put through a simulated driving course and field sobriety tests using our Fatal Vision goggles, which some people call our drunk goggles. We hosted our first Citizens Academy back in 2008, and we've had one every year except for last year due to the pandemic since then. The Citizens Academy gives residents the opportunity to get a close-up view of the inner workings of our department. They get to learn about all of our different divisions, including patrol, lake patrol, traffic safety, criminal investigations, support services, K-9, and SWAT. And they also get an opportunity to tour some of our local facilities like the Mecklenburg County Arrest Processing Center. So they get to go there and actually see what jail looks like on the inside. In addition, they get to go through mock scenarios, including traffic stops. So they get an opportunity to see what it's really like for an officer to stop a car at night in a dimly lit parking lot, which we would use for safety. But they really seem to do that, enjoy that. They also get to spend a day learning about use of force, and we also take them to the firing range and give them an opportunity to shoot some of our weapons under the supervision of our firearms instructors. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about your police department, and I would encourage anybody who has not attended to consider submitting an application. They meet one night a week for 12 weeks, and we do provide a meal. So this slide is about our promotions and awards. So we've had a number of promotions throughout the year, including the ranks of lieutenant, sergeant, corporal, and detective. We've also presented several awards, including Rookie of the Year, Professional Staff of the Year, the Chiefs Award of Recognition, and Officer of the Year. We do our best to recognize the hard work of each of our officers does day in and day out. And as always, we greatly support the town and our community for everything they do for us. And these are just a few photos from the ceremonies this year, and the mayor and several commissioners attended a ceremony earlier today at the Northstone Country Club with the Lake Norman Chamber, where we presented Officer of the Year to one of our officers. So, Mayor, that's all I have right now. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to do my best to answer them, but I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Major Balkin. We appreciate the good work you folks are doing. And one point when we're talking public safety that I really always like to make to our citizens is that if you see something unusual or concerning to you going on in your neighborhood, please don't just sit there. Don't just put it out on social media. Please call 911 or the non-emergency number and get it checked out. That gets us ahead of the game and could divert a very serious crime that's being contemplated in your community. So do not hesitate to call 911. It is okay. We're very fortunate in Cornelius. We're very unique in Cornelius that we have our own 911 center here in our town. That is very valuable to us.
Yes, it is.
It does cost us money, but it's something that we feel like is important. When you dial 911, you're dialing the Cornelius Police Department, and they know how to get to your house, I assure you. So Major Baucom, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I'm very proud of that 911 center and the good work they do.
Yes, sir, I would agree. And, you know, the saying is, if you see something, say something, you know, and say something to us. Please call 911. I tell people through the years that I'll come to your house for a false alarm 100 times for the chance that one time it's live and actually catch someone that's breaking in. You know, the same thing if you see suspicious activity in your neighborhood. We've also recently had a lot of catalytic converter thefts. So, you know, please keep an eye out in your neighborhood for that. Or, you know, if you're driving down the road and you see a vehicle that doesn't belong behind a business late at night with their headlights on or parking lights on, please just call us. You know, you are our eyes and ears out there when we don't have an officer in the area.
Thank you, sir. I thought you'd validate that for me. I appreciate you doing that.
Yes, sir.
Another thing I'll say is that if we have crime going on in Cornelius, there's a high likelihood you're going to get if you're doing the crime, you're going to probably get your picture taken.
Yes, sir, there is.
We're up to how many cameras, Major?
Roughly 100. There may be just a few more. They kind of go up and down, and we're in the process of replacing some. But yes, we have a very unique but a very good camera system that we use throughout town, and we've used it to solve a lot of crimes through the years, and we're grateful for that.
That is a great service, and you know, just part of mine and your board's desire to give this town #1 top-notch public safety protection here in our town. So we take that seriously for sure. And as you heard earlier with Tyler's presentation, we take transportation seriously in our community. And thank you to Dr. Mike Miltick, who spends a lot of time as chairman of CRTPO, which is the organization where a lot of the funding decisions happen. And he is head of that. That is quite valuable to our town. And Dr. Miltick, we appreciate your service on that and the good work you do there. I know you spend a lot of time at it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. So with that, we'll move on to any questions or comments. I'd like to call on any of my commissioners that are out there. Commissioner Sisson, I see you popping up on my screen, and I know you're passionate about public safety and getting some of these road projects done. You have anything to add?
Yeah. Telling Michael Master.
So I don't think we're tuning in to Commissioner Sisson right now, but Commissioner Ross, do you have anything to add, sir?
No, sir, I'm good.
All right. Ross is working hard out there at the polls, our longest serving commissioner, and we appreciate his good work from time to time. So is any of our other commissioners out there? I can't see the full screen here. So any of our commissioners, Commissioner Bilodeau or let's see, Commissioner Sisson, I'll open it up to you if you can chime in, Commissioner Duke as well. So feel free to bring anything up you'd like to related to our topics or otherwise. I think they're tired. They've been out there working the polls all day. I look forward to seeing y'all out there in the next day or two. And we will move this election along. I know I'll be glad it's over. And I think the hard work y'all have put into it, I think you will as well. So I appreciate that.
Mayor,
yes.
if any of the citizens want to come out and ask questions on a more detailed one-on-one level, I'll be at town hall almost all of early voting. Welcome their questions.
I think many of our commissioners will be out there. So come out and see them and ask them directly.
Sure.
You know,
Commissioner Bilodeau will be there.
Yes. So don't do all your communications on social media. Please get one-on-one with all of us. We desire your conversation. We want your input. We want to listen to what's going on with you and what we can help you with. So please turn out and talk to us on the steps of Town Hall. This is a great opportunity to do that. Manager Grant, Andrew Grant, do you have anything you'd like to add to our session before we recess here?
No, just want to say thank you to all the panelists, Dr. Washington from the Health Department, obviously for him and Gibby doing this every single time we have one of these. So thank you for the updates. Thank you to Tyler. He filled in for Wayne today. Appreciate him doing that on the transportation projects. And then definitely Chief Barbie and Major Balkum. So thank you to everyone.
Thanks. And not seeing any questions, I'm going to adjourn our meeting tonight. But before I do, I want to remind you that we have a fabulous coffee chat coming up November 1st. November 1st is a Monday. It's the day before the actual election day, but we'll be doing a coffee chat, Connecting Cornelius coffee chat in the morning at 8:30 on November the 1st. It will be on Zoom and it'll be on Facebook Live. It'll be virtual again. I really look forward to the day we can get back live and in person. But we're having a lot of folks tune into these sessions, and if these particular times don't suit you, then you can always tune in later. We keep these recorded sessions out there, and we invite folks to tune in when the opportunity is appropriate for them to watch and stay up to date on their town. So again, have a good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all the panelists, and we will see you around town. Thanks a lot. Bye now.